how many children can private education reach? And I'm reminded of, I was at a conference a year or so ago, and there was someone who was talking about the desirability of private education. And this was, of course, higher education, not the school education that we talk about, but the principles are not very different. So we were talking about, so he said, India would gain a huge demographic dividend if we could only improve the quality of the availability of higher education opportunities for children. And he said we are at 2 million seats today, and if we could get to 5 million seats, then the face of India would be transformed. This is the kind of demographic dividend that India deserves and should get. Fair enough, going from 2 to 5 is laudable. I think it would make a big difference. And I was thinking that the children of our country who would benefit from higher education probably number about 160 million, given the approximate age range over which we have 120 crore people. About 16 to 18 crore of those will be those who would benefit from higher education, who are the right age range. So what we are saying is, 160 million, let's just throw away half of them. Now we are left with 80. Still not quite there. Let's throw away another half of them. We'll go to 40, and then let's throw away another half, and we go to 20, and then let's throw away another half, and we go to 10. Then we throw away another half, and we go to 5, and that is our aspirational number for higher education, as far as private sector is concerned. So essentially, what they're saying is, we are okay with 3% of the children, because that's the size of opportunity we see. It is 3% of the people of this country who can afford the kind of higher education that we want to offer. That is demographic. It's certainly demographic dividend for that 3%. But to call it demographic dividend for India, that seems a stretch. So what that tells us essentially is that private sector there are opportunities for private sector. Private sector provides good education where it can. But if we look at education for India, it is not clear to me that that is where the private sector will make a contribution in a significant way. Yes, today we have 80–85% of our children studying in government schools. That could come down to 60% if you like, but 60% still is the largest number of children, and so we have to make it possible for them to receive good education. Private sector, I don't see that happening. And there's been a great deal of buzz about low-cost private schools and how they can change the quality of education. The low-cost private schools I have seen provide education which is dressed up as better education, but it is no better than any education that is made available in government schools. In fact, it is arguable that they do more damage to children than the government schools do. Government schools don't do very much at all, unfortunately. Private schools do inappropriate things all the time. They emphasize cramming to a much greater extent than government schools do. They emphasize rote learning and excessive test taking and so on to a much greater extent than government schools do. Those are not good things for our children, not at these ages. And so it is not clear at all to me that private schools are the answer to India's education problems. That doesn't mean that government schools are the answer to India's education problems either. We need really a radical redesign and overhaul of the system. But I think the idea that private schools can do it is simplistic.